about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from God knows where. This is Real Spoilers, episode 799, Inside House. So I am traveling this week. I was in Hawaii, which is why we did a Netflix one last week, right? So I left Hawaii at 9 p.m. Hawaii time. And then it was a 6-hour flight, and now I'm in Phoenix at 6. And so now I'm in Phoenix, and it's 7 a.m. now, right? No?
No, it's
What
9.
time is
It's
it?
9. It's 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m. here.
It's September.
It's 9
here,
a.m.
Tom.
there. Yeah. It's 9 a.m. there. It's 7 a.m. here. My body, I think, thinks it's 4 a.m.
Oh my God.
Good luck.
Yeah, you're gonna sleep for 3 days when you get home.
Something like that. So
Yeah.
let's go around the virtual table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
This is Paul.
And this is Tom. So what now? Oh, shameless plugs. Let's just do that. Sorry. I was having my wife bring me the power cord for the computer so it doesn't die. Okay, so shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's super helpful and greatly appreciated. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who are kind enough to share an episode over the last 2 weeks include librarian Cynthia, who I was hoping I would just have into while I was seeing the movie. And luck, I didn't run into her. Although I will say it was $20 to see a movie in Hawaii.
Holy wow.
Yeah.
That's
so.
Man,
How much was the popcorn?
$20.
You kidding me? You think I bought popcorn? You crazy son of a bitch! I just shelled out $20 per person to see a movie.
That's so much money.
You think I'm feeding people popcorn on top of it?
You didn't have A-list Hawaii?
They don't have AMC's there.
Oh, what do they have?
And so, Consolidated.
Man, that is a rough name for a theater company.
Yeah, but hey, I'll tell you this: it might be worth the $20 because they had 10 minutes of previews before their movies.
Oh, that's fair.
Okay.
I was like, "That's pretty nice."
Yeah.
It looks
No
like
ads, I guess.
AMC's up to like what 24, and so
the last time I went to an AMC or a Marcus, like it was, I knew I could time. I could get there. If the movie started at 1, I could get there at 1:45 and not miss anything.
1:45. Oh my gosh.
It's almost that bad. It is almost that bad.
1:45 the next day.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there are times when if a movie started at 1, I would leave my house at like 12:55.
You wouldn't miss a thing.
Yeah.
And I'd still get there. I'd pee. I'd buy concessions. I'd be just fine. Like it has gotten ridiculous. But
you would do your taxes.
Yeah, I'll do other people's taxes. So that's how much time. Okay, so also people who share Travis Hewitt, Julian Jordan, Cougar Mel Brewer, Chris Valls, Tom Dowdy, Richard Krotzer, Tim Lynn Powers, Beth Man Ward, Heather Sack, Ryan Burdick, Bill, Lugo, Dustin,
Are you guys losing Tom?
Yeah.
Ronnie,
Ooh, no.
Matt, Nicolia, in session, Mike,
Hey,
Oscar,
Tom.
Cinema Recall,
We've
Cole,
completely lost
Yes.
you.
Okay, what about now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
Is this-
seems fine now. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my speeds are back. I forgot that other network, and
Okay.
then I'll pick back up in the middle of the show share.
League of Show Shares.
Yeah. David Rojas, Ronnie Castle, to me radio, Matt Nigley, In Session Film, Mike Oscar, Cinema Recall, Colby Mac, Nostalcast, Ryan Terry, Binge Movies, Invasion of the Ream, Edit Photo Gamer, and Spoiler Piece Theater. So thank you very much. We sharing an episode. And don't forget patreon.com/real spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. And as always, you can watch all of these episodes over at youtube.com/@real spoilers. So there we go. Yeah, if you're watching this on the YouTube, you can see me in the luxurious American Airlines Business Center.
Ooh, they have IMAX there.
It is so fancy.
It's very fancy.
You look like you're in a call center.
Yeah,
to look like a call center.
Which makes sense because so far during this recording, we've had to reboot the machine 17 times.
Yeah,
Have
right.
you
Try turning it off and turn it back on
again?
Yeah,
The IT crowd has taught me anything.
It's secret to my marriage. Turn it off. Turn
it back on again.
Yeah. So anyway,
Keep doing that.
There's all that at long last, at least what feels like long last sitting on this end of the equation. Let's dig in to Inside Out 2.
Disney, I feel like, has been... We talk about fallow periods for Disney animation, and I feel like they've been in one recently. I feel like they were on a hot streak for a long time with Pixar and Disney traditional animation.
Well, Disney kind of picked up the slack.
They were both killing it for a while, and for a while it was like either Pixar worked or feature animation worked, and then for a little bit there they were kind of both working, and then
like post Moana.
What's in terms of when
they started to hit the skids a little bit.
Well, I think COVID majorly screwed stuff up because they started dropping their theatrical releases on Disney Plus, and then people started thinking, "Oh, well, these are just streaming movies now. I won't go to the theater."
I guess even in quality, right? Like Wish was not very well received. But
that was their last movie. I mean, that was everything before Wish was really good. Look at Moana and Encanto. Those movies are great.
Oh, okay.
But
Coco,
Encanto was a huge hit at Coco's Pixar, but Wish just recently happened, and I think Wish is one of the worst Disney animated movies in a long time. But that's their last animated movie, that. But Disney kind of picked it up where people weren't going to see the Pixar movies, or they weren't talking about them. I think because they were more considered streaming movies, and the Disney ones were always theatrical first. Which sucks though, because I think Soul and Turning Red, and I wasn't a huge fan of Luca, but I still think it was good, and I think they really got screwed over by dropping them on Disney Plus, and they deserved. And
Luca
Onward
was a snooze.
Luca was
Luca was good dinosaur level to me. Like that movie was so boring. So boring.
I was gonna send Disney a cease and desist because that kid looked just like me. Like if I'll have to show like a side by side of Luca and me at the same age, and it was eerie.
But I
even had a Vespa.
So I think they really got screwed over and I was going to say the first one that got screwed over was Onward. Onward released for a week, and then everything got shut down with COVID, and they had to drop it on VOD like the next week or two. But Onward, I think, is a really, really solid movie that people just didn't have a chance to even go see.
Man, I forgot.
But I will say, I don't feel like any of those really ticked even if they had come out in a regular world, kind of ticked the mass appeal box in a way previous Pixar movies have. They got a little navel gaze.
You don't see any of those characters in the parks. Encanto's the last one that you still see, and
well, that's not Pixar, but
right. I just like that's the last one that they have a whole section, like that whole thing has a whole part of the park. You don't see anybody from, and I know we're talking about Pixar and Disney. To me, they're interchangeable at this point. I think they're two different studios, kind of, but they both look the same. The animations look almost identical. You can't really tell the difference.
Disney really picked it up, though. I think we talked about, was it once Tangled? I think like Tangled Forward. It was like Disney Animation was stepping it up to the level of
Disney
Pixar.
Animation was like, you could, when they would release those shorts, you could see what they were working on. So it's like, I think one was like the little crab one was the short we got before Moana was even in production, but you could see them working on like the sand and the water and like how to make it work. But you're right. I think they were pushing the boundaries on what they could do with animation. To me, Coco is one of the best looking. Is that Pixar or is that Disney?
That's Pixar. That was the last Pixar movie I liked at all.
It's incredible.
Oh,
it's
wow.
an incredible looking movie. Where I think Inside Out, it didn't look any different. It looks like all of them. I think the difference with that, with the first Inside Out, was just the idea of how they made us recognize emotions and like how memories are formed, and like, you know, the globes kind of like initially they're just one solid color, but then real emotions kind of like mix those colors. And I do feel like this movie is a retread of the first one, but added different emotions.
Right, it's an update to the first one, which is kind of neat. And I agree. Like the thing that always set Pixar apart, it was not just their animation. And once Disney caught up, right, you don't have, it's not about the animation anymore because they're both just as good. But
Right.
the Pixar stories always seemed deeper. Like Disney animation was more like a fun, whimsical, just a adventure story, and Pixar always had this deeper meaning to it, but was still fun.
Yeah,
but,
they were gonna murder those toys.
but it's like, but the thing is,
I think that's part of the trap Pixar ended up falling into, is
I
that
agree.
their stories were deeper, but they were still fun, and at some point they forgot to be fun,
Yeah.
and so it's like I liked Soul, but like I don't know that I would ever go back and watch Soul again in the same way that I would a Toy Story movie. Even Toy Story movie is those are very deep and have lots of
Sure.
existential dread, but they're still fun movies, where Soul wasn't all that fun. And then when you start getting into some of the other ones like Luca, like, God, no. I would never watch Luca again. Never.
Yeah.
I barely watched it the first time. Like, I was so like, what are we doing? It was so boring.
I hate to say it. I mean, I think it's just a fact, though, that when John Lasseter left, it's a shame he was a scumbag, because John Lasseter knew how to run that studio. I mean, he was there from the beginning. You know, he knew how to make fun movies with jokes that adults could laugh at and understand, but were perfectly fun and didn't bore kids, and the animation looked great. And Pete Docter took over after he left, and I know Pete Docter has made some good movies, but I feel like his strengths are more on the filmmaking side and not the studio side, because when he took over, they became more like art house movies that kids thought they should go see. You know, like they're like Tom said, they turned the dial way up too much on the art house, the starting with Inside Out with all the different like meaning and existential stuff.
And it works in Inside Out, and it works here. It works here really well too, I think. But like Pete Docter really likes that end of the equation, because he's Up, he's Monsters Inc., right? Like
I see.
He likes that kind of like, let's play with the psychological end of things, but I think he forgot to be like, but you got to dress it up with fun characters.
But once Monsters Inc. was still, when it was like, well, that's just a fun movie. Sure, there's meaning, deeper meaning about laughter versus scaring and all that stuff, but it was more of the fun nature. But when he gets to Inside Out, every movie kind of becomes a little Inside Out. It all has to be about psychology. And it's like, okay, that was great for Inside Out. And again, it works here because now it's the next level. When you're a teenager, what are your emotions? But not every movie with Elemental or Turning Red or Soul has to be about like, after you die and the spiritual. And it's like, oh my gosh, like let's have a movie that's just about fun for a little bit.
There's a very thin line between making movies for kids and making movies for adults. And Pixar used to be really, really good at that high wire act.
They did.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
And quite a few times recently, they have fallen off of that. And I think they're back on it with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I agree wholeheartedly, and it's like you hate to like ding a studio or filmmakers for trying to be smart. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure.
Like they're trying to make movies that are next level, and more often than not they've succeeded. And honestly, their track record, their streak was perhaps unmatched. But
You're totally right.
Yeah.
But so I feel like kind of like a dick being like, oh, but these other ones are bad.
Well,
And
it's that thing
But they're
that
Disney.
It's that
right?
thing that you always
Like-
talk about, Tom. It's that thing where you say, you know, when you do such high level work for so long, and then you turn in something. You make straight A's, right? And then you turn in something that's like a B, and they're like, I know it's a B, but you can do better. Like we know you can
Right.
do better. And that's honestly how I kind of feel about this one. I think that it felt very much to me like an exact retread of the first one, but with the added emotions. And I think I don't know, maybe there was a better mix for me in the first one of Riley and the emotions of like bouncing back and forth.
I think some of it is that first one just kind of caught you off guard with
That's
what
true.
they were doing, and so like you really can't do that twice, right?
Yeah.
And I think we should get into talking about the plot of the movie itself, because I think there are things in this movie that are different that I thought were really clever, maybe didn't get explored as fully as they could have, but like I thought it was fascinating that like that joy left unchecked is insane. Like right,
Yes.
like that's not good either, right?
Toxic
Like
positivity.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
because as this movie first started, and and you're getting the opening scene where they're reintroducing you to Riley, and she's taking these like awkward moments the girl has, and like burying them in the back of her mind,
Sure.
and then you see her sense of self, and they play the chords, and she's like, I'm a good person, I'm a good friend, I can do this. And I was like, you're a narcissistic bitch.
I thought that when they kept playing the "I'm a good person," I was like,
Right.
oh boy,
Yeah, keep
that is
telling yourself
definitely
that.
one way of thinking that. That's true, I guess.
But
Yeah.
it's like at the end of the day, you can't. All those things that Joy keeps throwing away are the things that make a person a person. You can't. You have to remember the hard times you went through, when you get a bad grade on a test, when you screw up and your parents have a talking with you. Like if you just repress those memories, it's really bad for you. And so I do like what were having to say about that.
I think it's okay to throw the memory of like you walking into a door, right? Like that's one where you can be like,
That's not a character. That's not a character flaw.
Right,
That's
right.
just-
That's a memory. You'd be
yeah.
like, oh god, that was so embarrassing, but get rid of it. But I agree. Getting the bad grade on a test, taking the penalty that almost cost your team the game. Those are things that will affect you. So we should get started. So Riley is 13, and her life is pretty good from where we left off from Inside Out 1. She's getting along with her parents. She has excelled in hockey. She's playing pretty spectacular hockey at this point. And it gets to a point where Riley is she's going to high school. And I thought one of the brilliant things about this movie is the scene in the back of this car. So you've got Riley and her two friends. They're driving to this hockey camp, and at this point, the emotion board is still pretty much the same. We see that at the end of the first one where it gets the upgrade, and we see the puberty button. This little subtle thing where it's not Mindy Kaling, it's somebody, which also, I got to tell you, I don't want to talk bad about voice acting, but the downgrade from Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader to Tony Hale and
I like
somebody
Tony Hale
else.
from Arrested Development. I thought he was
I
a good
think Tony
replacement.
Hale's very funny, but I just think Bill Hader is a
Sure.
much better voice actor, I guess.
So I don't know who Liza Lapira is that replaced Mindy Kaling, but yeah, I thought that was the hardest one to change.
Yeah. She sees, so as Riley's talking to her friends, they pick up on this little tick of like the friend's eyebrow changes. And was that who is Mindy Kaling? Disgust?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She sees it and she picks up on it, and it's like, oh, I do that. Like, if you're talking to somebody and you see like their eyes move a certain way or their eyebrows furrow, you're like, well, now what are you thinking? What? And now my brain is like, what are you doing? So I liked that all of the emotions realize that something is off and they're keeping secrets from each other.
I will say, I think this movie, to me personally, this movie's more fun than the first one. I really enjoyed the comedy of this movie and just the fun situations they got into. And like, that was a very funny moment when her disgust is like, zoom in, enhance, rewind that. And then the other girl's disgust is like, oh no, they spotted us. Oh wait, what are they doing? They're reacting. They noticed something's up. And they were like battling back and forth in the heads. Like,
I liked the quick hits between, but seeing other people's emotion boards running them.
Yeah.
Did they do that in the first one? I don't remember.
They do it between Riley and her parents.
And her parents. Yeah.
Her parents have boards, but they didn't, like, we haven't seen, I don't think in the first one we didn't really see Riley have any friends. She was a kid. She was a little kid, but the movie mostly, there was the boy that she liked and then her mom and dad.
Yeah, but I do like those moments where you got to see their emotions, and they were all obviously very similar, but with little changes. Basically, their hairstyles kind of matched the real life people, but there was a lot of comedy from that. And I don't know, the first one, to me, I know it's an unpopular opinion, I think the first one's kind of a snooze. I didn't really like Inside Out. I had way more fun with this movie.
Oh, so I think the first one is a absolutely brilliant movie.
I like
that was the first
of it.
movie. That was the first movie I ever give it 10 out of 10.
No.
Wow.
Not even Monster Squad, huh? Okay. All right.
Definitely. I think Paul Harris would give Monster Squad a negative 10 out of 10.
I think Paul Harris would not have a ticket to Monster Squad.
That's a shame. So we find out that Riley is under the impression that her and her two best friends are going to play hockey together in high school. The two best friends are not going to the same high school. So Riley is going to be on her own. At the same time, this camp that she is going to is the camp, like the home camp of the high school team that she cannot wait to play for. They've got like this all-star player and they've got this all-star coach, and this has been Riley's trajectory since she started playing hockey. She wanted to play on this team. Again, I got like attraction vibes between Riley and the captain of this team. I don't know if that's there on purpose or if it's just like a hero infatuation with the teammate. But
I think it's probably whatever you want it to be. You know, I'm guessing that's there for people that want to be seen, that do have the same sex attraction. And I think for people that don't want to read it that way, it's a girl nervous about, oh, this girl's so cool and I look up to her. So
yeah,
she wants to be in the cool girl clique. That's all it is. I don't think it's sexual.
I tend to land there too. Like at first I thought, oh, is this where we're going? Oh God, the internet's going to explode. But I really don't think that's what they were.
I don't think it was either. I was just picking up on like the possibility that it's there.
I picked up on it too, Joe, but they don't follow through.
They
with
do
it.
not.
That's the key, though, right? Like I guarantee you right now, if you went online, there's going to be a lot of people talking about how they saw that. Right?
But I will just to rebuke those people when we go into Riley's memory banks and we see the Mount Rushmore of attractiveness.
Yeah,
it's all boys.
Yeah,
like that whole thing is boys.
That can change,
and that can change. They can absolutely, as the father of a 13-year-old.
Yeah,
I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I will also say that when you get to the vault, there's a deep dark secret that they walk back, right?
Yeah.
Like in the
They
post
do.
credits.
They do.
Supposed to be it. Yeah.
Because
was it supposed to be?
I don't know. I think I have a feeling that could have been it, and then they decided to do the reveal so that people would not. I think they would have gotten a lot of hate if they kept it in. That's
they're
my
already
guess.
getting enough. They're already getting enough guff for the acolyte.
I know.
You
And they-
know.
Joe,
they
I think
would've
if you,
gotten-
Joe, I think
Go
if
ahead,
you
Bob.
want that, you're going to have to wait for the Riley Goes to College sorority experimenting version.
I gotta tell you, Paul. I was talking to a friend about this, and she said, I don't want to see Inside Out 3 because she's gonna be an adult, and that board is gonna be, it's gonna look like a skyscraper of just shit, and it's just no thank you. I almost had a panic attack watching Anxiety go into a tornado around this board. Because that is how, when I feel anxiety, that's exactly how I feel. And watching it play out, I was like, I don't like this at all. I don't like a visual
I don't want to see
representation.
I don't want to see the college version of this, but I'm looking forward to Inside Out 3, Riley in high school. I think we could do something with that.
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
For sure. So we get there, and this is the first. Riley, the puberty button has been hit, and we've been introduced to Anxiety, who is Maya Hawke. We've got ennui. We've got embarrassment. We've got
envy.
and envy, and it's fun for me to see all of these different emotions and kind of get integrated into this group, right? I think in any of these Pixar / Disney movies, the first one will give you your main characters. The second one will introduce like new characters because that's what they have to do. I mean, just to see what I did not realize Moana 2 was coming out already. And I saw that trailer and I was like, holy like, that was...
Yeah, it was supposed to be a TV show, and they realized, we can make $500 million. Why not make it a movie?
Yeah. They're doing a live action one as well.
Yes.
I got to tell you, that the live action
No
one's
interest in that.
None whatsoever. I will say, though, I saw the trailer for
Mufasa, and I couldn't help but notice that they referred to it as photorealistic animation.
They
did, you catch
and
that?
I thought that was interesting.
There you go.
And so here's my theory on that is they realize if they keep calling it live action adaptations, they can't submit it for best animated picture to the Oscars.
Oh.
That's my theory. Is
I
that
thought they didn't want to get that best like nature doc. That's what they wanted.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, it's photorealistic animation, so we can nominate it for best animated feature.
That's slick.
Is my
but
guess.
What I will say is I had they don't do anything different with the remix, the live action remix. Jungle Book was different, and I thought that was great.
The best one, I think.
I agree. I think this Mufasa one could be like the Jungle Book because there's no story. There's nothing.
It's a new story,
it's
right?
a completely new story.
Okay, Moana just came out. Like Moana is
the fact that they're doing a live action one of those is wild.
It's so good.
Here's the really weird thing about Moana just having come out, and then in Inside Out 2, we have scenes of them like literally shoving nostalgia back in the closet because it's too soon.
It's too soon.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh
but
no,
yeah, like
the Cinderella one
is,
was really good. Cinderella was good.
Yeah.
Cinderella's good.
Jungle Book.
Pete's Dragon was good, but again, that's different, right? That's
Pete's
very
Dragon
different
was
from the
good.
original.
Pete's Dragon was the one where I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna eat a bullet. Good lord.
So
And not a bad way.
we should go through the cast though real quick. You mentioned Maya Hawke, who I think is great as Anxiety. I think she did a really good job with voice acting. Wasn't familiar with her doing any other voice acting work. But Envy is Io Edebiri. She's in the Bear, right? Is that what that
Which
show's
I'm
called?
looking forward to seeing the second season of in a few weeks.
She's the gal that she's like his number 2, right?
Yeah, she's
okay.
Right.
Okay.
She's
so
also
really,
on Abbott Elementary.
Yes.
Okay.
She has a reoccurring role on there.
Yep. And so we already mentioned that Liza Lapira replaced Disgust. Tony Hale replaced Fear. And then who are the other ones? Ennui is Adèle Exarchopoulos.
Good luck with that.
I know. And Paul Walter Hauser plays...
does he play Embarrassment?
Embarrassment, but I think he really only has one line and
It's
some
like
noises.
one line,
Hey, that's the way to do it.
I'm like, they cast Paul Walter Hauser for that?
I had seen him at like one of the premieres. I was like, oh, he's just there to see the movie.
Right.
Did not even realize that he was in the movie.
Like, that's pretty funny.
You know, when these voice actors do this sort of thing, they're not in the studio together. They each show up whenever they're asked to be there, and they go in and they record all of their parts, not interacting with the other actors, just by themselves, with the director giving them ideas of do it this way, do it that way, whatever it is. I can't imagine that Paul Walter Hauser was there long enough to drink a cup of coffee.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had one. He did that over the phone. He didn't even know in.
But I will say this, when you question why he was given that role, there is an Inside Out TV series coming, and so I wonder if that's what that's about. Like if that
I didn't know there
would
was
be
a
a much
TV show.
bigger role in the
I
show.
could okay. That makes sense. That makes sense then. So yeah, the puberty button has been pushed, and we are introduced to all of these new emotions. And it is eerie to watch this and watch Riley's reaction, because it is like watching real life.
Yeah, you've seen some of this recently,
I have seen a lot of this recently. And so they go to the tournament, and this is the first time that Riley is faced with a choice. She can either go with her friends and be with them, or she can go with the people that are going to be on her team. And what I like about this is they you think that they're going to set this up where anxiety is kind of the villain, quote unquote. But when you kind of get into it, it's like she's not the villain. She's just doing what she feels like is best for Riley.
Anxiety serves a purpose, right? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, anxiety is why you study for a test. It's why you learn your lines if you're in a play. It's why you get a job, right? Like anxiety isn't in and of itself a bad thing. It, in the same way that joy in and of itself isn't always a good thing, right? Like you know, there are times when you should not be joyous.
And to Joe's point, when you talk about this being kind of a reach out of the first one, he's not wrong, because essentially we're learning the same lesson with new emotions. Anxiety has a super important part, like Tom just said, and you see it play out in the film just like joy does. But, you know, joy went through the same thing with trying to take over the controls in the first one, and we learned they all have to work together. And here now comes anxiety, and anxiety is the new joy. Anxiety is trying to take over everything, and we once again, of course, learn by the end that they all need to work together. So, but yeah, I like how they present these new emotions, and anxiety was a really interesting one, because when we all think about like, oh, if I make this decision, this can happen, and anxiety goes overboard in this movie. But I mean, it is important to think about things that will happen before you just, you know, word vomit and say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We get a scene where Joy is like, no, we have to do it this way. She made these. Her sense of self would not allow Riley to do these things, and anxiety's like, if I could just kind of squeeze in there and like I'll show you a different way, you know. And there is a scene where it looks like the new emotions gather up our old emotions, throw them in a jar, which I thought was
they bottle them up,
right?
Yeah.
But I like that embarrassment like poked holes in the top, and I was like, oh, that was pretty funny.
They didn't murder them.
Yeah.
And shoots them into the memory bank, and I guess it shoots them into the vault, like buries them in the vault.
They're suppressed emotions.
Correct. Yes. And while all of that is going on, the new emotions start taking over, and it's mostly anxiety, where she is kind of distancing Riley from her old friends. She is doing more, not like dastardly things, but she is not the nicest at this point.
Mostly she's sucking up to the cool girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the crux of the whole film.
And honestly, like I was on anxiety's side. It's like, look, these kids aren't going to go to school with you next year, right? They're getting sent to a different high school, and here's a chance to start creating new friendships at the new school. Doesn't mean to be shitty to your old friends, but like getting FaceTime with the new cool kids that are already established on this team. Like, I think that like that's good networking. Go for it, girl.
I think that's the hardest part about this film, but it makes it a good film is how it challenges you, because Tom, I'm 100% on board. I know the moral of the story is supposed to be don't forget your old friends, but I was like, this is exactly what you need to be doing. They just told you they're not going to school with you, and then now you're trying to get on the team. And if you don't have that and you don't maybe get in with them, what are you going to do when you get to high school? So I'm like, she's really doing the right thing, but maybe the way she goes about it is not as nice and not
It's
as good.
not, but I also think you can forgive that because she's 13.
13, yeah. Like
Well, of
this is the age in which you learn these lessons of
Right.
like, oh, I shouldn't have treated my friends like that. Like, right? Like if she's doing the same thing at 30, like she's got issues, right? But
You've learned nothing.
Right. But
So,
at 13, yeah.
I remember watching this and thinking, "Oh, I remember this. I remember, there were 4 of us in grade school that were pretty much inseparable." And I remember thinking, "We're going to be friends forever." I don't talk to those guys at all.
Right.
Like that, we all went to different high schools and we all just kind of went our separate ways. We would run into each other. We still do, right? We'll see each other at the grocery store because we're Southside kids and we never leave this godforsaken place. But like the level of friendship was completely different than the guys I went to high school with, and then the people that I've met since high school.
I like these kids' movies like to create this thing of like everyone's friends forever, but like that's just not realistic. I mean,
It's not.
You might have a friend or two that's like that, but people drift in and out of your life.
Yeah,
And-
you have people that you know and that you're friendly with when you're younger, or even as you grow and go from one job to another.
Yeah,
I have some
yeah.
experience with this. The people who you were really close to because you saw them every day at work and you joked around with them, whatever it is. Then you go off and you take the new job and you have to start being friendly with the people who were there. And you still know some of those old people. Let's be honest, if it weren't for Facebook, friendship would have the meaning that it had 15 years ago, not today where, oh yeah, I have 300 friends.
Right.
No, you don't. You have 300 acquaintances or old friends, and you say every once in a while you see that they had ravioli for dinner.
Yeah.
Aren't you
No,
glad you're
exactly.
back on Facebook? So I want to say one movie that handled this topic beautifully, and people give it crap, and it's because I think they didn't even give it a chance, the ones that are really hard on it. But the movie that did this perfectly was Toy Story 4. The end of that movie, when it was like, we're friends, but our lives are changing, and we're going to go our separate directions. It doesn't mean we don't like each other.
Is that the one where Woody and Bo Peep kind of break away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the whole movie, these toys from the first movie are trying to get back together. And as an audience, of course, we're used to these friends. We love them together. But that's not realistic. Just like in the previous movies, Andy's growing up. He's going to do different things now. And the toys are going to go with someone else that can use them. In the same way...
You see this problem pop up over and over again on sitcoms, right?
Yeah.
Where,
Oh, sure.
Where it's like you have this group of people that, have like The Office, right? Nobody wants to be at the office. They all want to get better jobs and be somewhere else. But if they do, the show is over. So
Right.
And
it's
there's only one person that has that character arc, right? It's
Yeah.
just Jim. Jim is the only.
Right.
I guess Craig Robinson, but they leave together.
yeah.
The only one that Dwight kind of just not fails upward, but he runs Andy's the same way. And then
Yeah.
there's other characters, but Jim is the only one who was just like, I'm going to leave. Like, I'm leaving. And
Yeah.
Which
They
is
had-
why I thought 4 was so good, because the toys went their separate ways. It teaches kids that you're not going to be together with the same friends for your entire life, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think does a
And-
great
and-
job of this as well as Superbad. Superbad does at the end of Superbad,
Yeah.
you've got you've got these 2 girls and you've got these 2 guys who are pretty much inseparable the entire time, and they go off to be with these girls and they go their separate ways. They give that little thumbs up, head nod at the end, but they're going their separate ways. Doesn't mean they're not going to be friends, but it just means priorities have shifted a little bit.
Yep.
The hockey tryouts, I guess they're not really. It's a camp. It's not really a tryout.
So let's break
It's a
it down.
camp, but
There's-
it's essentially a tryout, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
there's 3 days that they're going to be at camp, and while they're there, the coach is going to basically assemble who her team is going to be the next year. And so you've got all these senior, like the Val is the star player that Riley's kind of infatuated with and looks up to, and then you have all her friends that are at least juniors or seniors too. And so Riley coming in as a freshman would love to get on that team, but it's very difficult
Real
to
quick,
do.
I think that's another reason why I don't think that this is supposed to have a romantic angle to it, because, I mean, Val is got to be probably a senior, and for all practical intents and purposes, Riley's in the 8th grade. Like, that's
correct.
That's not going to be.
I don't think they would. Yeah. I don't think they ever would do anything. But But if you say a teenager has a crush on someone,
I mean, good Lord,
like a movie star is an adult.
Right.
If you're a teenager, you're still going to have a crush.
I remember as a sophomore having crushes on senior girls. But it's not like it was ever going to.
Joe had crushes on senior citizens in high school.
Well, don't. I mean,
I'm not.
You should have seen some of those. You should have seen some of our teachers. They were ridiculous. But yeah, I don't think you're wrong, Tom. I do think the age gap is fairly. I also thought it was interesting. The lead hockey player looks like a younger version of the Gal Gadot character from Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, I thought I think they almost had maybe like the same red streak in their hair. I just thought it was very weird. Not weird, but funny that they're just like, we'll just reuse these character models.
Different companies, man.
They're not different. Look, I know we keep saying that they're not. Like, it's
a
all
completely different
under
studio. I don't think they share character models.
They're just sitting next to each other. Be like, hey, can I steal that real quick? So Riley is now kind of ingrained herself into this new team. She has kind of walked away from her friends who are on a different team because they're not going to the same high school. In the meantime, we've got our original emotions that are trying to get Riley's sense of self, which is like this like glowing flower that was in the middle of the control room, has been broken off and thrown away and replaced with this new anxiety-ridden sense of self.
Anxiety sends it to where joy sent all the repressed memories.
Right. So they're trying to get that back, to put that back in the console. And they, again, I did feel like this was a big old retread of the first one, where our main emotions are walking through the memory banks and all of the different like emotional lands.
It's clever how they do it, though, right? Like, I liked the stream of consciousness.
That was pretty good. I like the sarcasm. I thought was great.
Now, this is the stuff that Pixar is really good at, and why they are Pixar is they're able to make fun things. This is how it should be. It should be fun, but it's also educational, and they skewed a little bit towards the educational part, the eat your vegetables type thing for a while. And here, like you guys said, I think they bring it back, and this is a great balance of the two.
Yeah, I also think it has a lot to do with your voice actors. I think Maya Hawke and Amy Poehler are both very funny, and they've got very good comedic timing. And I think that lends very well to both of those characters, and able to lighten things up a little bit. So they're on their way. Oh, they get out and they're in this vault. And
I liked these new characters. I thought they were really fun. The PlayStation 1 anime RPG character, the way that they pixelated it, this is something you don't get with Pixar movies often, right? Pixar movies live in a world and everything looks the exact same. And the closest thing we have with Disney is like Wreck-It Ralph, right? Combining all these different animation styles. And here, Pixar takes these different characters. So you have a Blue's Clues-esque looking like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse little kids show. You've got the PlayStation 1 level character, and all these animation styles together. Do you remember one other Pixar movie that's blended animation styles?
Wall-E.
I don't think they've. Oh, that's true with live action. That's true.
That's a good call.
That was call. But since then, I've not seen them do it, and I really appreciated that they played with different types of animation, and I thought those characters were great.
We talked about how Into the Spider-Verse kind of changed the game as far as animation goes, and I feel like Wish tried to do like the Disney version of that animation, and it just didn't. I don't think it worked at all. And I
think the songs were bad in Wish. I think that was its worst thing, was that name one memorable song other than that. So I Make This Wish, the main song. Like, they're bad songs, and Disney movies are known for their musical numbers.
Unfortunately,
like the animation.
Kevin, I knew you would like that old video game character.
Yes, of course. I love that's exactly.
I just knew
it. Yeah. I grew up playing the PlayStation 1, and that's exactly. I just love how they made it move and looks pixelated. I thought that was so spot on. You know how sometimes when they try to simulate animation styles or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's like that's old timey, put like film grain on it or whatever. And so I feel like they could have really went a weird direction with it or made it too blocky, but that is exactly how if you zoomed into a PlayStation 1 game, it would be pixelated like that.
Pretty rough.
I liked when he was trying to walk through the door,
and that's how they turn. Those are called tank controls in PS1 terms, like Resident Evil, and so they can only turn left and right and then go forward. There's no diagonal, and so it's hilarious. And those are the kind of jokes I appreciated. Was there were those little things there, but it wasn't like kids couldn't be entertained by a character walking funny or something.
Sure,
it was a good blend.
Yeah, and then
I loved his name too, Lance/Blade.
yeah, it was great. I also
like the two throwback TV characters who are voiced by James Austin Johnson, who is the great Trump impression guy on SNL.
He's one of my favorites.
And Ron Funches too.
Yes, Pouchy or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, Pouchy. If you watch
clever.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, it's the Toodles, which is Mickey Mouse's little tool, his Deus Ex Machina toolbox, or Felix the Cat's magic bag. That Pouchy is just like that. And then I think the character Bloofy is supposed to be like a Blue's Clues, is kind of how I took that.
But I love
it's also very Dora-esque.
It is very Dora-esque,
yeah.
My favorite part is when the Bloofy is like talking to what originally it looks like he's talking to the audience, and then the camera pans around to the back of the character and he's just talking to a wall.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And Anger's like, who is he talking to?
That's what I'm saying. That whole scene of them in the vault was just like joke after joke after joke in a style I had not seen in a Pixar movie, where it was so like a little bit absurd and meta, and I really appreciated all those characters. And that's when I realized this movie is going to be a lot of fun, and I just don't remember the first one having moments like that. And so to me, this played really well. And then you have the what is like the deep dark secret,
the deep dark secret,
a big troll or something in a hood, and you could hardly see him. And the main thing is it's like it's not time to let that out of the vault yet, and they kind of leave it there.
Yeah, our characters they get out of the vault, and they are running
with dynamite, by the way. The way they get out of the vault is because the pouch is like, what is he? He's like, I have apples. Isn't
the dynamite when they go to the mountain of
that's the
they do it again.
What do you call that? It's like Chekhov's tool bag or whatever.
But
but he's like, what does he say? He's like, I've got, let's just say, apples, a ruler, and dynamite. Like, it's hilarious. You know what I mean? We were laughing out loud, and then the fact that they use the dynamite to blow the cell, and then the cops are chasing him. One of the cops is voiced by Frank Oz, which was kind of funny.
Oh, that's cool.
He had a voice in the last one.
Yeah. So I think it's the same characters actually are playing like security guards. So
okay.
So they're Mind Cop. It's Dave Goelz and Frank Oz. And but anyway, there's a chase, and then like
Dave Goelz is Gonzo.
Yeah. There you go. So
okay.
That's kind of fun that they had those two actors. There's almost like this like slapsticky type thing where it's like this Rube Goldberg of mishaps that they all end up. The security guards are all locked in the vault.
Mm-hmm. And so back in the real world, anxiety has taken over the board, and she's kind of taken over Riley's main emotion. Embarrassment will pop up every once in a while when they're talking about what bands do people like, and of course Riley is a 13-year-old, and she likes this like kind of like bubblegum pop band, and all the girls are just like, oh, you actually like them. And I do like that ennui kind of takes over. Oh no, this is the sarcasm. That's what this is, where she's like, "Oh yeah, I had a great time watching that band," and this chasm opens up in the memory bank, and Riley's friends kind of overhear it, and they're like, "Yeah, we were there together. Like we all went to that show." And embarrassment kicks in, and like I love that he just lays across the board. Like he doesn't press anything, but he just face down on the board. And the board turns like a bright pink. This is the first time that Riley is kind of to her friends.
Yeah.
And she does have a moment where she's like, "Oh, that was kind of scummy," but like goes right back into being with this other team.
I think this is so relatable though, because when you have a new friend group or someone you're trying to impress, and you say the thing that maybe isn't going to make your old friends feel good, but you're trying to fit in. Like, it's pretty important, I think, at this age for kids to see this and understand it, and that it's not right, but it's very relatable.
Oh, for sure, especially when they're going to different high schools.
Yeah,
like these aren't the friends you're going to have when you're in high school.
Like, I think at the end of the day, the moral of the story is, like, you should talk to your friends and say, hey, guys, I love you. I want to hang out with you, but also I'm going to this school with these friends. Like, she should have handled it better, but I don't think it's wrong that a kid would want to say, hey, this is my future over here.
Right,
and
right.
we'll still stay in touch, but, I've got to try to get onto this new team. And if they would have that conversation, maybe her friends would understand a little more. But you're right.
That's a lot to ask of a 13-year-old girl. I'm not sure if you find many adults who would do that.
Right. Well, that's why we don't see it, right? I mean, we're saying, like, that's the lesson of the movie, but she does exactly what any other 13-year-old girl would do in her position, right?
I like that there's 4 white dudes being like, I think this 13-year-old girl would probably do this. I think that's the way a 13-year-old girl would act.
Well, a 13-year-old boy would do the
I don't
exact
think
same.
I don't think it's gender specific.
No.
It's not. No, it's not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
So now Joy has reached a point where she feels, this is the first time I don't remember seeing her kind of question herself in the first one. Like, she always kind of had that, like, we're going to get this done.
Well, wasn't that what the whole first one's about?
Is it though?
Isn't she like down, like, I thought that's what the whole thing was she starts to realize that what she's doing isn't right.
I think what she realizes that, no, man, now I'm not sure.
That's all right. Either way.
I guess I feel like in this one, this is the first time we see her almost give up, where she says that, like, Riley doesn't need me. She doesn't, she's got these other emotions, like, and the other emotions that are with her are just kind of like, you can't quit. Like, she's gonna need parts of you, maybe not all the time, but let's go get this thing. So they use the memory vacuum, and they get up to the top, and they find they can see where Riley's sense of self is off in the distance. And we should say this entire time, Sadness has been trying to, like, thwart the new emotions on the board. And we find out that Coach has this book, and inside this book is her evaluation of every player. And Riley is now faced with the decision to either kind of, like, calm her brain and go look at the book and see where she stacks up, or if she's actually going to break into this coach's office and do that. And just when you think that, like, the other emotions are going to take over, anxiety wins, sort of, and Riley goes into the office and looks at the book, and she realizes that the coach has written down that Riley is not ready for the team. And that sends Riley into, like, this, not really a spiral, I guess isn't the right word, but, like, she's really hurt and she's really upset that she's
like, what am I going to do? At this point, she's not ready, so she's going to go and she starts practicing at like 4 a.m. or something. She's going to do everything she can to try and make the team now.
And I do like that there's one of the scenes I did like is anxiety kind of takes over the imagination department.
I thought this was really fun.
Yeah, this was really good.
They're kind of drawing all of these scenarios of just the worst things that could happen, right? My parents are going to stop talking to me. They're going to be upset that I didn't make the team. I'm going to be a lonely person feeding birds until I die. Things like that. And
really funny. The scenarios were hilarious. There's like dozens, if not close to 100 different scenarios, and they've got animators, like they're old school Disney animators sitting at drawing boards, of the imagination, making these scenarios. And our original emotions infiltrate, and Joy is going to have them try to draw dreams, basically, so that Riley's not in bed stressing over these nightmare scenarios.
To get some sleep.
Yeah.
I like the line where anxiety's like, "Hey, who put that good feeling in there? Like, why is that dog in there, or whatever?"
Yeah, the good ones were really funny too. I can't even remember what they were, but they were the ones that Joy led the animators to take over and come up with. Were just hilarious scenarios. Totally.
She's like, "Oh, there's one with a cat. I don't know what that means, but all right, we'll go with it."
Yeah, a little off topic, but I like it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the humor again. Like I feel like this movie really amped up the humor. The jokes were better in this one, at least they were more entertaining, and I was having a blast with this one.
So we get to this big game. It's a scrimmage basically, but it's the last opportunity for our incoming freshman to make an impression on the coach. And Riley kind of goes into overdrive. Initially, she's playing as part of a team, and it's working, and she's scoring. You know, the deal is that this all-star scored 2 goals in this game. If Riley can score 3, maybe that'll give her the edge to make the team and impress the coach. So initially, she scores a goal, and it's okay, right? Like it was a good pass. Everything was fine.
And I think in the first one, the other girl was open, but Riley takes it, and she still makes it, right?
Which again isn't the end of the world.
But like she should have passed it, but she's good and she knew it, so okay. But the second one is where
she hits it. She shoulder checks her own teammate off of a puck and takes the goal and scores. And at this point, even the teammates are like, "Yeah, that was kind of scummy. Like that wasn't okay."
Right.
While all of that is going on, Joy, I think they've made it back to the office basically where the board is.
They go to the big pile, and this is where Joy has the realization that she has been throwing away and repressing all these memories. So they finally got to the thing, but it's like buried under this mountain of memories, and she's picking them up, and it's like Riley's parents saying you got a bad grade on this test, and I can't remember some of the other ones, but it was
the trip from the beginning of the game, or from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
where she, almost cost her team the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is another scene that I liked. Is they figure out that they can't get back there in time, so they're gonna call for Pouchy, and they're gonna pull all the dynamite out of Pouchy's mouth. I thought this was a hilarious scene where Anger just kind of pins Pouchy to the ground and just starts reaching into his mouth and pulling out like these blocks of dynamite.
He's like pulling up his sleeves, rolling up his sleeves.
And so now Joy and the rest they blow up this mountain, but at the same time, because they've dislodged all of these memories, now they're going to run the chance that all of these memories are going to go into the core self and affect it somehow. So Riley ends up like smashing into one of the other people from the other team.
One of her old friends.
One of her friends. Yeah.
And like puts her into the boards, and it wasn't a dirty hit, but it also wasn't.
I thought it was a very dirty hit. Isn't that the point?
No, I think she wasn't paying attention. I think, and they collide, and she hits her, but she hits her so hard that she, bounces off the boards, and she's hurt.
Whatever she did, I feel like Riley should have known better, though.
Maybe, but I also think she was.
I don't think she was deliberately trying to hurt her friend, but she was like. She was over aggressive.
Yes,
exactly.
And doing a move that wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Yes, I 100%.
And it resulted in her friend getting hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
So Riley is sent to the penalty box, and she starts to have a panic attack. And
man, I've never seen a panic attack visualized, but I thought they did an incredible job, and it was so anxiety inducing for the audience to see this. It
very much was. So we see anxiety at the memory board, or the emotion board, trying to get everything under control, but she is creating this whirlwind effect basically around the board, and she's like
in this hypnotized daze. I love how they visualize this, where she is like wide eyes, like just fixated, and you can't really be interrupted when you see her. I just thought it was really neat how they showed her like so locked into this panic attack.
And then it took Joy has to kind of like work her way into the board, and she can't touch. Like it's almost like the Flash. Like that's what it looks like. She's moving so fast that the Joy can't like touch her. So she kind of just says, she's like, look, just let me, you can let go. You can let go of the board. And anxiety kind of lets go of the board, and Joy takes over. And Joy is showing her all of the, did she show him like all of the stuff that she has done? And she kind of gets back to being
Doesn't she like remember her friends or something, like the good times? I feel like she just gave her.
I know that there's a line a little bit later where she says Riley wants you, and then Joy kind of goes and takes over the board, and she gets back to
when they ride the avalanche back of old memories. It's like like they all flood in,
right,
and it's like that's when they realize that like you need all of that. Like
yes.
You know what happens? She tries to during the panic attack. She puts the original sense of self back in.
Oh, sure,
but then
sure.
They realize that like that's not what she needed because Riley needs everything, the good and the bad. She basically needs a new sense of self, which is a combination of the positives and the negative memories to make the new Riley who is equipped to handle these things. And so Joy or someone ends up pulling out the new sense of self, and then basically a new one is built out of the good and bad memories.
Yeah,
combined.
all of the anxiety, all of the good memories, all this, everything is built into this new sense of self. And then Riley remembers that she just loves playing this game. And that's, the game ends and Riley is kind of back to being Riley, and she apologizes to her friends, and things kind of go back to normal. We've got like a new existence inside the emotional chamber.
But it's also important to say that she does not go and score that third goal. Instead, she passes it to a teammate because that has come back to her as an important thing to do to be part of a team.
That's exactly right.
And she's having fun. You can just tell her demeanor's completely changed where she's just out there doing what she loves.
Right. And so everybody goes back.
They fast forward to high school.
Yeah, they're back in high school. Well, I think high school is starting because we haven't gotten the lineups for the team yet.
Right.
And this is I think this is great. To what we talked about earlier is how sometimes you need anxiety to study for a test or to memorize lines, and I like that we know that at 2:00 the team is going to get posted, so anxiety is starting to ramp up a little bit, and Joy's like, hey, like maybe there's something else we can focus on, and she's like, oh, we do have that Spanish test or something, and she's like, yeah, that's it, go sit over there in the chair.
They prepared this chair with anxiety that she can drink and like, relax and everything. Very funny.
And what I like about this is, I mean, I think it's safe to assume that Riley has made the team, judging by her reaction.
Well, we don't see it.
We
but
don't. We don't see
it.
When she sees it, she does crack a little
she
smile.
Smiles. Yeah,
and that's how this one ends. And I thought, I do think that this is a little bit of a retread of the first one, but their ability to incorporate all these different emotions and kind of give a visual representation of like trying to figure all that out, that for a 13-year-old is pretty impressive. Like it's a pretty impressive and very well done movie.
Yeah, I think anytime you do a sequel, you have to go back with references to the original. As long as you don't go back and do cheap repeats of those sequences or make them the entire thing.
Or
I'm going to refer to Cars 2 or Cars 3 or any of those similar.
Or undo what you did in the first one. So many sequels, they completely do a reset so they can, because they solved the problem in the first one, so they have to reinstate the problem so they can solve it.
We got to bring back the same problem.
And the great part about this sequel is that this has an organic sequel built in. Riley's dealing with certain emotions when she's a kid, and we've learned these lessons, but now it's puberty. Now it's going to high school. And so it organically is like, here is a new story to tell. And I think it's different enough to where doesn't feel like a complete copy.
Right.
And something that the director said in an interview I thought was really cool. People love Bing Bong and were so sad about his death. And the director said, I am not bringing him back because it was final in the first movie. And I think it's important that kids realize that sometimes people are gone and you can remember them.
That would also completely undermine Bing Bong's sacrifice at the end of that movie.
But they do it all the time, right?
That's true.
Like,
You're not wrong.
And so I appreciate he stuck to his guns. He said, I made a decision I would not bring him back, but you can see Joy has a little statue of him in her room.
Bong, yeah.
So again, like you lose friends, but they're gone, but not forgotten. And that's an important lesson to learn.
Agreed. Yeah. And then
Absolutely.
I think there's a post-credit sequence. Oh, man, I wish I could remember what it was. What was it?
Oh, it's the
That's
deep,
the
dark
secret.
Oh, it's the deep dark secret. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do. Riley's like, whatever I don't remember what it was, Riley's like, "Oh, I thought it was that time we peed in the pool," and the monster's just like, "Oh no, not that one too."
What was the deep dark secret? It was something.
Was
silly.
it setting the living room rug on fire?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
it
I
was.
set
Yes,
the rug
yes,
on
yes.
fire. Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. And then no, I thought it was when we peed in the pool. No,
I did
I
that.
can't believe.
I
Yeah.
did that when I was a kid. I set
Set
the
the-
living room rug
Oh.
on fire.
What are you, Marty McFly?
I did.
Yeah, I think this is it's doing insanely well, which is great.
Yes.
Over $500 million in 2 weeks.
Which is wild and fantastic. I'm glad that people are showing up to see this in theaters. Maybe that will it change the way the companies look at streaming? No, but maybe. I don't know.
No, but maybe the Pixar storytellers can learn something from what they've done with this. I mean, it's a different director. It's this Kelsey Mann instead of Pete Docter, who's kind of like director emeritus now at Pixar.
Yeah, he's got to go.
But this
I'm
Kelsey
sorry.
Mann has been there on the inside for so long. Who, Pete Docter?
Yeah, I think he's too.
Well,
clinical.
I was going to say that Kelsey Mann knows the Pixar playbook and plays it, I think, very, very well here. And like I said before, I could see a third version of this with Riley going to high school, as long as they remember, don't do City Slickers 2 Curly's Gold.
Right.
How do we get Jack Palance back? Oh, I don't know.
It's his
give him
brother.
It's his brother.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the only other feature that
Or by the way, Monsters University would.
Oh, I like that one.
Monster University I thought was great, but the only other feature that Kelsey Mann has written for Pixar, do you know what it was?
No.
The Good Dinosaur.
Oh boy.
I mean, this movie's so good and well
really?
written, and that's hilarious. That shit. But I mean, hey, maybe it wasn't all their fault, but I just thought that was interesting. And there's probably
is
like
funny.
co-writers on that too. So
That's pretty good.
yeah,
That's funny. So, well, anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the virtual table, and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at Joey Butts, BUTTS21, and on Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
This is Paul. You can find me on my website, harrisonline.com.
And this is Tom. You can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Bob marries Lily.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we already